order, and we'll start with the opening prayer. With words of praise and prayer of thanksgiving, we come before you this day, O Lord. Mindful of your love for us in the past, we rejoice in your promise for the future. Lord, you have created us and called us to be united, together and apart, Church of Santa Fe, commissioning us to be your servants in the service of all. We give thanks for the gifts of the ministry you have given each of us, and we thank you for guiding us through another year of life and ministry together, even apart. Open our hearts and minds to you, O Lord. Fill us with your visions. Make us bold with your spirit. God of grace, glory, on this people pour your power. Give your servants, give all of us the wisdom and the courage we need for the faithful and joyous living of our lives and the life we share as a church. This we pray in the name of Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Thank you. We need to establish a quorum to begin the meeting, and I believe, Talitha, that's 47. Can somebody do a count for us?
Does this include people online?
That's okay. Does this include people online? We need 47.
We're okay.
Okay. All right. We're good then. If we're counting the online folks, we're definitely there. Thank you. So, okay, we are going to declare the meeting open. I would like the council members to please stand and introduce themselves, and I will begin with myself. I am Kim Zielik, the moderator of United. Sam, would you like to begin?
Good morning, everybody. Sam Elkind. I serve as your treasurer.
Sarah?
I'm Sarah Sautel. I am standing.
Good morning. I'm Bruce Junquist. I'm secretary to the council.
I'm Karen Wilbanks, Children and Youth. Marilyn Gardner, Outreach.
Larry Rasmussen, Adult Faith Formation.
And we have Diana here. She is the Discipline and Development. And then Bob?
Bob Ashley is at large.
Thank you. We will begin with new business.
Okay, Kim, there are more agendas around.
I have some up here if people need
Okay, we
them.
need some adjustment people back here.
I can do that. I'll hand those, agendas and budgets.
And there is a yellow pad going around for people to sign in, please.
There's actually 2 yellow pads going around, so we're going to catch you one way or another. And I do appreciate you all coming today on this blustery day. All right, we're ready then to move to new business. And that we'll start with, how have you experienced God's generosity?
That's right. The scorecard, the dance card. What we wanted to do with this is just turn to the person next to you, preferably, or the person in front of you, if the person next to you you already know, and just in a couple sentences, look back over this last year. What's been one example you've had in your life of God's generosity toward you? On a day in which we give thanks to God as a church for God's generosity, this is an opportunity to share that with one another. So if you're sitting next to somebody you share a house with, find somebody else to talk to real quick, okay? Just take 2 minutes, 2 minutes. One minute per each, 1 minute each. Okay, if you haven't let the other person talk yet, let them talk. And if you see somebody who's not, doesn't talking to somebody, reach out to them as well. Okay, let's come back together. Let's come back together. Hopefully you've made a new friend. So, from the noise of the crowd, or from the noise, it sounds like we have lots of things to be thankful for. Just take a couple minutes. What's a one-word example or two-word example of God's generosity that you heard? Not yours, but somebody else. Yeah, Bob.
Bruce and I both have the same thing, family.
Family. Okay. Other ways? Yeah, Jennifer.
Deepening friendships.
Deepening friendships. Okay. Other things? Hope. Health. Okay. Well, they both begin with H. Okay. Health and hope. Other things? Nature. Okay. Other things? I heard music being talked about over here. So, other good things. Financial stability. That's a big one. Okay, so those are some ways as we go into the next part of hearing about the stewardship campaign and about the budget and all those kinds of things. It's an opportunity to reflect on the fact that God has been incredibly generous with us as well, individually as well as a church. So, take it away, Kim.
I would like to now introduce Bob Angeles, the stewardship chair.
Good morning. The statistics are in front of you, but very briefly, 2 points. One is gratitude and one is celebration. Thank you to everybody who made a pledge, who made a financial commitment to this congregation and this church for 2023, both here in Santa Fe and those of you who are virtual. Also celebration. Today we will be looking at a balanced budget. That is something that not every congregation and organization can claim these days. So we're very fortunate that we can continue our ministries of children and youth, of environmental work, our outreach, and of course our music and worship. So thank you for that. And Kim, back to you.
Thank you, Bob. I'd like to now call on Sam, the treasurer.
Good morning, everybody. Now, out of mercy, I'm not going to read every line of last year's budget, but I do want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, the budget for last year was planned at $730,974. That is an amazing amount of money that would depended on the generosity of this congregation. Your pledges received were almost $541,000. And that was a gift that made this church operation possible. Bob talked about having a balanced budget. In order to make last year's budget balanced as we set out the plan for spending, we planned to draw and did draw almost in the range of $51,000 from our endowment. And that's a point that you need to keep in mind as we continue this meeting today. The expenses last year were lower than planned, and not necessarily for a good reason, because we continue to have an unfilled position for children and youth ministry, children's ministry in particular. So we ended up, if you look at our spending, you'll see that some categories were higher than planned, some were lower than planned. I want to highlight that the outreach was higher than planned for a good reason. We celebrate that we had more income dedicated to outreach than was in our budget plan, and we were able to put that to use. At the end of the year, last year, we ended up with a surplus of $39,157. Immediately, that became the foundation of this year's budget plan. And so with that in mind, let me pass the microphone back to Kim, and we can go from there. But I will take questions on last year's budget if there were any. Okay, Kim?
I'd now like to call Sarah, the Stewardship and Finance Chair, up. And she will present the 2023 operating budget.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 2023 operating budget. And because it's coming from the council, we don't need a second for this particular motion to be before you. But it is now before you. And one of the things that they've talked about the budget for this next year is that it's a balanced budget. The income equals the expenses, which is good, because we'd like it that way. We actually really prefer to have the income more than the expenses. But that's not the case for 2023. And as we look at the budget for 2023, we'll see that there is that $39,000 that's going to start us off with the year. In terms of our expenses, the overall personnel is a little bit more, and what we really hope to do is to fill the position for the children's ministry this next year, as soon as we can. That's what probably gave us the surplus from last year. Our ministry team's expenses are also up a little bit because we want to do a number of other things, like getting together more often, like having our burritos, right? Our burrito tailgate for the stewardship campaign. And as we are able to come together more often as a church. Our property and maintenance, we did some major work last year on all of the heating and air conditioning. So, and the roof is still okay, which is good. Yes, please. Please, roof, be okay. So those are pretty much stable. Administrative costs are about 4% more than in 2022. That's pretty good, considering the amount of inflation that we have been encountering. So the budget now is before you. Do you have any questions about it? To call the question? Yep. Okay.
Well, first you need to have some discussion about it.
Yeah, if there's discussion. Anybody have thoughts?
Sarah,
Yeah.
do you want to point out the amount of endowment that's rolled into the budget plan?
Oh, yes. We anticipate that we're going to pull about $40,000 from the endowment this coming year, as opposed to the $51,000 that we pulled last year. Part of it is because we're going to be pulling some from some other savings that we have to cover personnel costs for the children's ministry person. Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
You did an excellent job.
Okay.
We now require a vote to call the question.
So moved.
All right. All those in favor of voting to approve the 2023 operating budget, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Then the motion and the budget for 2023 passes. Thank you very much. Yay. Many thanks to those that worked on the budget. I know it's a great deal of work, and we all appreciate your efforts. I'd like to now introduce Frank Wilbanks, the chair of the Endowment Committee, to talk about a new venture we are undertaking.
Letha said this meeting should be over about an hour. We can make it really short. Get out your checkbooks. I'll meet you at the back door. Before we get started, a couple things. One, I want to thank Sam and Sarah. I've seen all the detail work that they do. And Sam taught me this thing. He used to work for UPS. They have a rating system of employees. They're on the best. And the worst for a UPS employee is least best, but they're the best. I want to thank the committee for, most of you, some of you may not even know we have an endowment fund at our church. The last several years have been such that we haven't talked much about it. I would like to thank a few people on the committee. Carolyn Burnett. Carolyn, you're here, right? Okay. Ed Barker, I don't think Ed is here this morning. Ed's on the committee. Kim is on the committee. Sarah's on the committee. Bob's sort on the committee. And Sam, and we let Talitha come to the meetings too. One quick note. Karen and I are very glad to be part of this church. I've said this many times, and I'll quit saying it eventually. When we moved here, I thought I'd never set foot in a church again due to some things that had happened over our past. And we finally found a church that walks the walk, talks the talk. And we're very glad to be here. Unfortunately, I missed the meeting on the endowment team, and therefore I got picked to head it. So there are some things you got to be careful about. A long time ago, before we came here, and Sarah, you were one of the ones, so you were here when this started. A group of people got together and formed an endowment for the church. Karen and I have been in churches for a long time. That was the least thing we had to worry about because we were worried about paying the light bills. So people before us were very thoughtful about this. Currently, we've got $1.5 million, $1.6 million, something like that. It's getting better lately. We've all experienced, if you've got funds in a retirement account, we've all experienced what's just happened the last couple of years. So it has been a beneficiary of that downtime too, but it's coming back, like you said. So what we decided as a council, based on some things that you can read in this thing that's passed out, that we would like to start a campaign to kind of beef it up a little bit. I think we've experienced something that I've never experienced in my lifetime. One is the pandemic and the fall of the market at the same time. Karen and I came here with thoughts of this amount of money, and but we're coming back. Things are going to get better. But I will say this: Sam just said it. Sarah just said it. Had we not had this for the last couple of years, some of the things we were able to do, we would not have been able to do. So it's become a very, very important financial tool for this church. I'm not the greatest guy to talk about finances in church, but I have seen what this thing can do. So, as we all know, things are going to increase. I think Talitha put this way one time. She said, our need, what we want to do is up here, and what we're able to do financially is kind of a little bit below that. With this, something like this, we can do what we need to do. And that's why we're here. So we got together, decided we would like to do a campaign over the next few months to try to increase that thing. So in the event that after we're gone, that this place can still do what it needs to do with whoever's in leadership at that time. Things are going to rise, we have a building to maintain, we have a piano to maintain. I'm not sure the Steinway brothers ever intended for a piano to be at 6,500 feet in low humidity and work like it does. I've seen, if you ever watch the guys, they actually water this thing. And I told her today, if you put it in the window, it'll probably grow quicker. But anyway, so what we've done to do the things we like to do, we've contracted with a company to help us in a campaign for we're planning this to last about four months. During this process, we're going to be educating, we're going to be providing information, how you can participate if you'd like to, and how we can do what we do to make this thing a better thing. The guy we've contracted with is a guy named Jerry Henry. I don't personally know him. Some of our congregation does. He's also worked with other groups in Santa Fe. He's a former Methodist pastor until he saw the light. And then, I can say that because I'm a former Methodist.
We'll put that in a minute.
Okay. So we've contracted with him on in a 4-month campaign we're going to do to educate us, bring us together, and hopefully, if it so moves you, and you see that as part of your, not only the people that are here, but people who are not here, if you feel like that's a calling that you might have, we'd like to help you, make that thing available to the church. So, pretty simple. That's it. The committee's worked pretty hard on this thing. The committee's very committed behind to do it, and we'd hopefully, like I say, if you feel like that's in your heart to be part of this, we'd like to do that too. So be aware that things are coming. Will be coming your way through communications, meetings, that kind of stuff is going to be going on. So that's kind of it. Sam, did you want to say something? Carolyn, would you like to say something?
Just that the budget helps, it does require
Yeah.
the endowment, so we can't always draw from the endowment and not the fact.
Right. Any questions about it from anybody? And I will say, just like Larry, if I don't know the answer, we'll find it for you if I don't know. Larry?
Is there a stated number as the goal?
I think something like 29 million. No, at this point, no. We are, the group, the committee, and with Jerry, we're going to outline a series of goals and things of what we think is feasible, and then see how that goal fits. Hopefully we'll, the answer is no. Not yet, but it will be coming, okay? Yes, sir.
What was the goal? I didn't get the number. You said 29 million.
Oh, no. At this point in time, I'm sorry. At this point in time, we haven't set a goal yet. We're in the process of, we just started this February 1st. So we've just started this thing. So we're going to meet as a group. We're going to meet with Jerry, and we're going to try to outline some things that we think might be a feasible goal.
What is the size of the endowment now?
We're about $1.6 million. I'm close to that. We just got the January statement, and we've had some issues with the website lately, so we just beginning to get information. It's about $1.6 million, something like that.
How is it invested?
We have. This was a decision made before I got involved. Oh, thanks, Karen. That's the tent. Stay in front of the microphone. Okay. We are working with United Church Funds. It's a group associated with the United Church. Right now, it's in what's called a balance fund. Everybody know what a balance fund is? Yeah. Okay. It did what it was supposed to do. We didn't lose as much as we could have lost. We also didn't make as much as we could have made, but it was there to protect us in the highs and the lows. And that fund, Carolyn probably knows more about the details of the fund than I do. I'll put you on the spot. But it's invested in things that go along with our thoughts and our goals of this church. So we're not invested in, we're not in crypto. We're not, we're not in the guy on the radio who says I can make it 300% like I did last year. Oh, we thought about that. No, we didn't think about that. But so we're trying to do the best with what we have and to protect the ups and downs.
So what kind of return have you been getting?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'm not one of these guys that looks at everything every single day. I don't know the answer to that. And I always get confused. In my own personal account, my guy says, well, we made so much money. I'm going, we did? Because if you take money in and out, it's always hard to figure out how that thing is done. So I'm really, that's a very good question. I should know that, and I don't, and I apologize. But I'll find out and let you know. Okay? Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah.
What we will do is we'll have that information for you as to how the returns have been for the past 3 years. I forgot to print it out this morning.
I thought we had that. Okay.
I haven't, but we will be getting that for you.
Yes, sir.
Is the endowment committee, are you locked into a specific investment objective, or do you have the ability, do the bylaws say what it has to be, or can you say, not advocating against the balance fund, but I know that broad market index funds are what every professional investment person I know says it should be in person. Would that be something the church could do?
What I've read in the fund, and Sarah, correct me, you may know about this. When this fund was set up years ago, if I've read what I've read is correctly, the decision at the time was made was to do this. And the committee, we've talked about looking at some alternatives. with the way the market's been going and stuff, we just kind of just held tight and decided, and listen, I am not an investment guy. I sold insurance. That should tell you something, okay? I mean, I'm involved in disorganized crime, so I don't know. I'm not an investment guy. I'm relying heavily on the people we decided to do business with, and we go on their recommendations. I'm not saying we're not opposed to looking at different things, and we're not. But I believe that's correct. What I just said is correct, right?
Right.
When
United Church Funds offers a variety of instruments in which we can invest. The balance fund is just one of them. I think there's alternative investments, there's straight equity, there's straight fixed income, and we are in the process of kind of looking at all of those options that would be available for us through United Church Funds. And United Church Funds has, from my experience with the Community Foundation, their returns from the United Church Funds mirror those that we've had at the Community Foundation over the years. So that's good.
One thing, and I'll say this too, there's a financial guy I work with, Carolyn I work with personally, and I've talked to him about the particular fund that we're in, and this is just his opinion. He's assured me it's done what it's supposed to do. It's not by far better than anybody else's. It's not far. It did what it was supposed to do. And I've dealt with my guy for years, and I trust him. So I run stuff by him. He's an independent guy. Has nothing to do with us anyway. But it's always Carolyn.
Just to piggyback on what Sarah was saying.
Can you speak up real loud? Or come on up here. Yeah.
Three words I want to say. To your point, and just to underscore what Sarah's saying, we as the endowment committee review this on a regular basis. So we have 3 or 4 different options with United Fund. And so it's not like we've just made this decision and it's set in gold or stone, whatever the metaphor is. So that we are on top of it, I think, as best as you can be in today's environment.
When we first started meeting on this seriously, we talked about looking at seriously some alternatives because the fund's pretty large, or it's larger in my mind. But with what has just happened with inflation and that kind of stuff, we just decided to set tight for where we are. We're not opposed to looking for the future. So I hope that answered your question. Did it? Okay. Again, I'm not a financial guy. Yes, ma'am.
I see planned transfers. Is that based on percentage of the endowment, or is it an as-needed transfer?
Sarah, Sam, you want to touch it, Sam? Before he says this, let me say this. We have a formula that was set up, I think, Talitha, was Jerry part of this when you said that, how to divide up the funds? Okay. The funds divided up into several categories. There's some specific things that we spend money for, and then there's one like general where the money can come out for whatever we need. And there's a formula that we do, we call it the map, and every year we do this map, and this formula dictates how much we have money available to do the needs of what we need to do. And so, take it away.
The formula is no more than 5% of the rolling 3-year average of the endowment's balance. So we take that calculation on 12/31 for each of the 3 preceding years, calculate what 5% is, and go from there.
Did that answer your question?
Yes.
We have not used, in many years, we have not used that full amount. I hasten to add, so that we are developing a margin of additional funds that are available for use because we didn't use them in previous years.
Yes.
And when you do that, does that additional that you haven't used in previous years, does that count as part of the 5% or is it above the 5%?
It's beyond that 5%. So we, the point I made about the 2022 budget was that we used an unprecedented amount of endowment resource to make a balanced budget for 2022. To do that, we took all of the 2022 MAP, the maximum allowable payout, and then we added a small amount of leftover MAP from previous years. We needed to do that in order to build that balanced budget. Now, it turns out, of course, easy to say after the year is over, we didn't need all that money. But that also contributes to your balanced budget that you just approved for 2023, because we used that leftover money as the foundation for this year's operating budget. Yes, Talitha?
Yeah, can I, let me just, because, great, thank you guys very much. Just a very quick, one of the challenges of United is that we have a new congregation every 5 years, and that's very true. And Sam and Sarah, well, Sarah's been here forever. She's been here longer than God. But Sam and Frank are new in the last 5 or 6 years. The endowment, I got asked a question just now in terms of, what has been the history of this. Just very quickly, in 1985, when the church was just a very baby church, and where you guys are sitting didn't exist at all and nothing else existed here, the church was given its very first bequest, which was a $10,000 music endowment. And it was used for, when I first came, because we couldn't afford even a Sunday morning pianist, we started using the interest off of that to pay $50 for a Sunday morning accompanist. That was the state the church was in at that time, in the mid-1980s. Then over time, we did receive some other bequests. We received Shirley and Mary Green, who were a clergy couple. Shirley was a male. He was named before Shirley Temple. They were a couple, and they were both United Church of Christ ministers. When they passed away, they had a small estate, but didn't have very many dependents, and so they willed, in their will, they gave 30% of their estate to the United Church. We put some of that into the endowment. We did that, what we called a living endowment, so that the amount that was put in the endowment matched what the return on that would match what they had given as their pledge. It was a living endowment, so that over time, in forever, perpetuity, thank you, that the amount that we put in the endowment from that bequest would equal or would generate what their pledge had been. And so by about 15 years, 10, 12 years ago, we probably had about $60,000 or $70,000 in the endowment, mainly from bequests. At that time, we decided to really up the ante, and we did hire Jerry Henry, who had a very good reputation. He's based in Atlanta, Georgia, but he went to Yale Divinity School, and as Frank Wilbanks said, he was a former Methodist minister, but his main career has been working with nonprofits. He worked with Girls Inc. That's how he knew Caroline Burnett 12, 15 years ago. He worked with the New Mexico History Foundation, and so he knows Santa Fe. He also really knows church. He's worshiped here several times over the course of the last 10 or 15 years as well. So we contracted with him. We upgraded our endowment policies. We got all the extra policies that you also need, like receiving gifts and real estate, et cetera, et cetera. And we did basically, to a certain degree, not to the same extent that we want to do now, but to a large degree, encouraged people to think about putting the church in their wills or doing planned giving. And as a result of that work, we received 2 significant bequests that resulted in about $150,000 each to the endowment, as well as people in the congregation at that time making cash gifts into the endowment. And so it increased it to about $400,000, $500,000. But also as a result of doing that work and getting the information out, having good policies, having good financial things, out of the blue, we also got 10% of the estate of, 20% of the estate of a woman named Ann Rutledge, who was not a member of the church. She only came when we did Mardi Gras or did a jazz service. I knew her for some other connections. She was a real Santa Fe character. Is that a way of describing? Yeah. Her father had been a Texas oil man, and she owned about a third of it.
Never underestimate the power of jazz.
That's right. Never underestimate the power of jazz. That's right. Anyway, and she had given a gift of $25,000 at one point when this wall over here was falling down and we had to repair it ASAP. But on a regular basis, she didn't give. Out of the blue, Well, when she passed away, we did her funeral here at the church. And in fact, she had come to, she was a character. She had shown up for about 3 other funerals for other people in the church. And when she would come through the line at the end of the service, I would say, how do you know Susan? Or how do you know Sam? Or how do you know whatever? Oh, I didn't know them. I just wanted to see how you did the funerals. That's the kind of person she was, right? I mean, you knew she was a Santa Fe character. But she also was a Santa Fe character with a fair amount of money. And she willed 20% of her estate to the church. She gave 40% to National Dance Institute, which enabled them to do their big dance barns and have their incredible endowment. But out of that, we got a little over $2.4 million. 1.2 million of it we used to add the education wing and all of that part of the church. Because we didn't have space for children. And the other 1.2, the other 1 million or so we put into the endowment at that point. So never underestimate what having an actual endowment campaign and getting that word out there, who's gonna offer it. So that's just a little bit of history. And if you by any chance have already put United Church in your will, please let us know, because we're trying to figure out sort of, how we do bequests and other kinds of things. But it would be helpful to know if you've done planned giving that includes the church, or if the church is in your will, or if you'd like to put the church in your will, see any of those people that are listed on the endowment committee about how to do that. It can be as simple as either a cash amount, I will X number of dollars, or a percentage amount. For someone like myself who doesn't have dependents, I put my brother and sister in the will, okay? But it also is a way for me to be able to support institutions like the church, like my college, like my seminary, et cetera, in perpetuity. And so I encourage you to think about that as we go through this, and encourage other people to think about it as well. But if you've already put the church in your will, let us know so that we won't badger you. No, we won't badger anybody, but, okay? Anyway, I just thought perhaps giving a sense of why it is we are sitting in this room now and have the kind of physical space we have, and also why the landscaping or the piano maintenance or the music program or other kinds of things are part of the life of this church that then frees up money for other things like outreach. Okay, enough of that.
Just briefly, I'm not a finance guy. I'm just head of this committee. But I'm blessed to be able to committee of people who are very knowledgeable, Sam, Sarah, some other people. So I want you to know that to put your trust in us, and we'll do the right thing. And if you have any issues, please let us know. And like I say, this campaign we started it February 1st. We're still in the initial stages, but the more we know, the more you'll know, and we'll go from there. So thank you for your time. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Is there any other business for the good of the congregation that we need to discuss at this meeting? All right. Talitha, would you like to close us out?
Just a very quick thank you, but very deep thank you to the members of the Stewardship and Finance team, and also the Endowment Committee, and the chairs of those endeavors, Sarah Sautel for Stewardship and Finance, Frank for Endowment. Frank, you say you're not a finance person, but you make people feel at ease with it, and that's the most important thing. You can leave the number crunching to others, but it's great to have somebody who has a good time with it. And Sam as treasurer, Bob as chair, ad infinitum for the stewardship campaign, but also the rest of the council that you heard introduced earlier today as well. And also to the other leadership of the life of the church, and especially to the church staff. Most of them weren't able to stay for the meeting, but Brad Ellingboe is God's gift to this church in so many different kinds of ways. So thank you, Brad, for stepping into that. He just got back last night, what, midnight or something from a 9:30 from a 2-day Association of Choral Directors of America conference, where he meets people like Andre Thomas, or some of the other people that he's brought in for FebFest and such. So thank you, Brad, for all those connections and for being such an important part of this community as well. But the other staff, when you see them, Caleb, Maria, Jesse, Kate, Lynn Raymond, Elijah Marquez, who's back there behind the pillar. So I never think that, you're back there and all I see is the little red light. But Elijah Marquez is the one who has brought us into the 21st century, sometimes kicking and screaming. So. But you have a great staff here at the church, and I'm very glad that the church is able to compensate people in a fair and just kind of way, and the endowment is part of that as we head into the future and as we live in Santa Fe. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Kim, for running a great meeting, and everybody else, and we'll call for the adjournment, and we'll stand and sing.
Yes. I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting. A second? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, we will stand and sing shalom.
We sing shalom twice through. So. Brad, you want to start us? My voice is gone.